Welcome back to another episode of the Stitch Time podcast. I'm your host, Keith Stitch. Today, I'm going to be talking about the 2026 Winter Olympics in Mulana, Cortina. So, a story that um, really stuck out to me. I really like following along the Olympics. I don't really get much time to watch them, but I just love the stories and the journeys that come along with the Olympics. And I think it's cool to see all the countries come together to compete and to see all the hard work that goes into these sports. And one of the stories that that's really big right now is the crash by Lindsey Vonn. So for those of you that don't know who Lindsey Vonn is, she is an American alpine skier. So the alpine is such a cool sport to watch because it requires I mean, there looks like you have to be so precise or things can go really bad really quick. I mean, these skiers are reaching speeds of upwards nearly 80 miles per hour, which is insane to be doing on skis. But basically they get on this hill, it's a big course. There's like jumps and stuff, and one error can cost them. I mean, honestly, they can kill them. So basically, Lindsey Vonn had retired. She came back. For those that don't know, she is a three-time medalist. She won a gold medal in 2010 at the Vancouver Olympics in downhill. She won a bronze in Super G in Vancouver, and she won a bronze in 2018. And I'm sure I'm going to butcher this. Pei Pine Chang, in downhill. Sorry, I completely butchered that. So she's been doing this for a really long time. So she's no stranger to the sport of skiing, and she's no stranger to the Olympics. She's been to a lot of World Cups and she's won a lot of world championships. So she's a professional athlete. And so she tore her ACL in it was during a World Cup downhill race in Switzerland at the end of January. And being who she is, she decided she was still going to compete in the Olympics, which, I give somebody like that a lot of credit. Basically, she went into the Olympics with a leg brace on. And I don't remember which turn it was. I believe it was either the first or second turn in her debut of the 2026 Olympics. She caught a gate. Basically, her arm caught the gate, and that shifted her entire body sideways. And when she came down, I mean, she ragdolled really bad, to the point that they had to airlift her out of there. She ended up with a tibia fracture. As of now, she's gone through four surgeries to completely fix this up. So it was a major crash. I mean, the jump that she had taken, I mean, she come down really bad. So it was a bad accident. One wrong move and it sent her flying. So, I'm following this story along, and something that I guess kind of, I guess it's the internet, so everybody has an opinion, but something that kind of blows me away is the amount of hate and basically bad press she's getting. Is basically they're saying that she shouldn't have been there, she shouldn't have did it. Um, you know, when she tore her ACL in the end of January, she should have hung it up. And of course, everybody has an opinion to this, but she was getting a lot of backlash for competing. And they were saying that she was taking the spotlight from other athletes, that were winning medals. And they just got me thinking. It amazes me how people that have never even competed at anything feel that they can put their 2 cents into something that they have no idea what it's like. I mean, this is somebody that has worked her entire life for this. um I'm sure this is probably all she knows. This is what she obviously she loves it, or she wouldn't be continuing to do it. And also, people don't realize like what it takes for an athlete of that level. And that's a champion. That's She has a champion heart where you know she basically had the what if, well, what if it does go well? Yeah, of course it can go bad, but what if, you know, I'm able to go to this Olympics, and what if I am able to medal? And even if I'm not, I'm still going to try. And I think that that's something that so many people will just give up on the simplest things. But yet here they are commenting on somebody that is at a world class level in her sport, and, you know, giving their 2 cents on what they think that she shouldn't be doing. So, I felt like I could kinda relate to that to some degree, because like, I know obviously I'm not at that level, and I know that. But, I remember when I was a kid, I believe I was 14 or 15, I used to watch my friends, my brother skateboard, BMX, and her injury just kind of reminded me of this in the sense that like so I decided I wanted to skateboard. I wanted to, join my friends. I felt like I was missing out, kind of sitting there watching them. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder if I can do that. So my brother and my friend, we came up with this idea that if we took a piece of wood, like a piece of plywood, and cut it, and basically if I sat on the skateboard with my legs crossed, um, I could skate, and that's what I did. So I would wear gloves, and I would go up the ramps just like everybody else. I would do rail grinds, and it felt really good. I felt like I was, part of the gang, I guess you could say. We'd go to skate parks, and I'd be right there skating with them. Whereas before I had to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch, and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. And we said, screw it, let's figure this out. But so it was going well until it wasn't. And there came a day where I was going up a ramp, and I heard a pop. And when I heard this pop, my entire body shifted to the left. I have to think about it for a second. So my entire body shifted, and I like immediately like stopped at the top of the ramp and just kind of laid there. And I was like, dude, I don't know what I just did. Like my brother and my friend, they're standing above me, and I'm like, I think I just screwed up my back. And I have rods in my back that were at the time they were broke. I have both of my rods in my back are broke, and that's from being a kid. That's from walking in leg braces. But so I'm laying there fearing like something in my back is broke, like something just shifted. It shifted my entire body. Like this is really bad. And so, I let my mom know. She took me to the hospital because like I'm fearing that something moved in my back. And what if it could like puncture a lung, or so they do an x-ray, and then they can't find anything. And I'm like, there's something wrong, like something popped. And day two, I realized that my leg, I can move my leg around, and like normally, like I can move it, and I could hear like something grinding. It was quite shocking, to be honest. Like I was at school, I can remember. I mean, I was a kid, so stupid, young and dumb. I'm sitting there moving my leg around, like, listen to this, like just trying to creep other people out, and I can hear grinding. And we're thinking that my hip popped out of place. So um I just so happen going to get fitted for new braces, and they're like taking measurements, and they're comparing old measurements of my left leg to like previous like sets of braces. They're like, this measurement is way off, and it is like it's bigger than your other leg, and that was abnormal. So we're like, all right. we need to get to the hospital. Clearly, there's something, you know, more wrong than we thought here." I can remember we're on the way to the hospital actually, and this guy in this SUV actually sideswiped us. So my dad's truck got wrecked. We still were able to get to the hospital in Pittsburgh. Obviously we're kind of like panicking at this point because we're realizing that this could be really serious. So I get to the hospital and they got to take an X-ray, and I'm like, you need to take an X-ray lower. Like, it's not my back, whatever it is, it's my leg. Well, so they go and take an X-ray, and they find that my left femur is broke, completely. It was a fracture, so it wasn't a clean break, and they admitted me immediately, and they ended up putting a pin and 4 screws in my left leg, and, I mean, it was shocking because I had went days with a fractured leg. Like, we had no idea that I had a fractured freaking femur, um, but so it turns out I had a fracture. They put me in a soft cast, all that. Well, time goes by, and I have the no quit attitude, like the mindset of like, I'm not gonna give up on this, like, I'm not gonna stop. And sometimes it gets me in trouble, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, like that's just who I am. So I'm back to watching my brother and my friends skateboard, and there I am just watching. I'm like, man, this shit sucks. And then like, you know what? What if we changed the way I sat on the skateboard? So me and my brother and my buddy again, there we are. I'm like, well, what if instead of me crossing my legs, because what I was figuring, the reason I broke my femur was basically, um, with me crossing my legs and me shifting forward was putting tension on my leg, and that's what caused it to break the way it did. So we're like, well, what if we put my legs all the way straight out, and I strap up my legs, one at the bottom and one at the top, and that would eliminate me having to worry about my legs being in any sort of like tension. So that's what we did. Well, first I presented it to my parents because I knew that after breaking my leg, my parents weren't going to be like, "Oh yeah, sure, get back on a skateboard because that's a good idea." So I knew that I had to basically have a solid plan and present it to them. So that's what I did. I explained to them what I wanted to do. I told them that like there would be no pressure on my legs doing it this way, and they gave me the go ahead. And so we put this board on the skateboard, and I was back at it. And I think I skated for a couple years actually. Would go to skate parks, was back on the rails, and back like recording videos and stuff. There's actually videos of me doing it on YouTube. I think it's called First Crippled Skater, I think is what I called it. But like I was jumping steps and going down like what's besides steps. Like there was a couple where like I would like ride down it, and I was doing like all this shit. And but along the way, um there was people telling me not to do it, or you shouldn't be doing that, or like worried about the risk. And like, that's something that I've had to deal with my entire life, of like the negative comments of what I should or shouldn't be doing because of my disability. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it's your life, like live your life. You know what I mean? Like as a kid, so my parents had a sliding board, like a big metal slide, like one of those old ones. It's like if you're out there in a 90-degree weather, it's gonna cook you like bacon. Um, so this sliding board was a 12-foot sliding board, and I actually taught myself how to climb up it with crutches and full body braces, which there was a lot of risk involved with this because like one wrong move, it would potentially probably could have broke my neck if I would have fallen backwards on it. So going up it, I always had to be careful. And I would get up top and I would slide down. And my mom, like people would ask her, like, how do you let him do that? And she was like, he's a kid. And she was like, I learned to just walk away. Like he's a kid, like he needs to be like other kids. And he's not going to be like other kids if I don't let him do what other kids are doing. So, which, I give my parents a lot of credit for, accepting that, like not holding me back, but also, like letting me be who I wanted to be and letting me be just like any other kid, not, basically putting me in a bubble and, coddling me because that's a big issue that I've seen with like disabled people. Like I played sled hockey for a couple years and that was the biggest issue I saw on my team is there were some kids on that team that there were fucking babies at the bottom, that's the bottom end of it, like just complete babies. And I can remember like they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I skated this week." I'm like, "Oh yeah, how much did you skate?" And they're like, "Oh, these two practices." I'm like, "Cool. I guess you don't want it that bad. I guess you don't want to improve that much." Like you're skating twice a week and I was skating 5 or 6 times a week. Whatever I had to do to improve on myself. But, I even some of my relatives, like, I'm not gonna name any, even some of them were, like, against me, like, doing anything, like, remotely that I could get hurt. And it just like I said, it just blew me away that, like, people they wanna hold you back just because they want you to be safe, which I get that, but also, like, no risk, no reward. Like pushing the limits on even the simplest things growing up as a child has, taught me so much in life because it has developed me into an adult that is willing to take a risk. And I don't mean just like sport related, but like career related or an idea that comes in my head. You know what I mean? Like going to school in Minnesota, like you have to be willing to take a risk. If you're not willing to take a risk, are you truly living? You know what I mean? Like, um, and so many people I think in life are afraid. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Like, yeah, I might fail or I might get hurt or, like this might set me back, but why not? Why not try? A big thing that I recently started in the last, I would say since my last world finals benching. Um, what if, and yeah, you can say, what if I get hurt? But you could also say, yeah, but what if it works out? What if I'm able to break that record? What if I am able to get that job? Like, what if, those couple words, can change your entire life. And yeah, it can go bad, but it can also go really good. And you got to be willing to take a risk. So, like me losing weight recently, like it used to be, I would get to like a point and I'm like, I think that's good. I'm good. And now, like, I play that in my head constantly. What if? Like, what if you got down to like, like I have a goal in mind and I'm like, what if you did that? Like, how wild would that be? Like, something that you used to think that, because, once I turned 30, losing weight got so difficult for me. Like, I know people say it only gets harder as you get older. Okay, well, are you a wheelchair user? Then shut the fuck up. Because like once I turned 30, like as a wheelchair user, losing weight got so much more difficult even after the age of 30. And yeah, it gets harder. No kidding. But like it significantly got harder for me after the age of 30. And like plateaus got so much harder. Like in my powerlifting days, I could drop 10 pounds like it was nothing, not even like barely make any changes, and it was so easy. I turned 30 and everything changed. It got so much harder to lose even 10 pounds, and I feel that I've had to put so much more work into, losing weight, and, like, to the point that, like, I'm always sore, like, yeah, I was always sore powerlifting, but, like, now, like, I'm not, like, lifting super heavy all the time, and I'm still just as sore, but that's a part of it. So, but yeah, it all comes down to what if, and, like, you have to be willing to take that risk, because no risk, no reward. And just think about, you know, how great that reward will feel once you reach it. So, like, don't listen to what others tell you. If you have something in your head that is eating away at you that you want to go after it. Like, don't let anything stop you. I got into the sport of sled hockey, I believe, when I was um 28. Unfortunately, I only got to play for a couple years due to I had a kidney taken out. So that's another story for another day. But um, I didn't let my age define me. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm too old for this." Honestly, like, it really, like, it helped me physically, because I went from 200, and, when I was a power lifter, my last year of powerlifting, when I was getting ready for my last, world finals, I was 217 pounds. I was competing in the 220 class. So, I went from 217 pounds, and I dropped down to, I believe, 160, because my goal had completely changed. It was no longer about power, it was about speed, about being as light as possible and being able to move as fast as possible on a sled. So, and it also was a challenge for me in more than one way, of not just like learning a new sport, but also like learning how to take something that I have no idea of what I'm doing and teaching myself. Like, yeah, there's coaches and stuff, but like, I spent a lot of time on YouTube. And, I had a garage that I had a, hockey net in, and I would do puck work at least 3 or 4 times a week. I lived less than a mile from an ice rink that I would go to, and there were some weekends where I would practice twice a day. I had, my dad actually made a wheel kit for my sled, and for my sticks, I use crutch tips for, like, crutches, and I would go around my apartment complex. I did whatever I could do to be able to get as good as I possibly could on that sled. Um, and like, it helped me so much physically, because like, I would burn so many calories doing it, but I lost so much weight, and I was at the healthy like that. I was at the healthiest, I think, at that point. And honestly, I was life flighted um, just after I turned 30. And they told me, basically, if you weren't at this level of health, you probably would have died. This probably would have killed you. So, looking back at that, like, yeah, look what me switching sports, like, look what me saying, you know what, I'm gonna go after that. Like, look what it did for me. It boosted my health. I learned a new sport. I learned how to lose weight a different way, how to improve on my diet. It evolved me as a person so much more, and it added another thing for me to check off of, like, yeah, we did this. So that's what if got me. You know, um, so if there's something you want to go after it, man. Just just do it. Dive in. So that's all I have for today. I'm gonna leave you with adapt, overcome, conquer, guys. Till next time, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along on my social media accounts, and follow along on whatever podcasting streaming app you use. Um, Stitch Time Podcast. Till next time, guys. Later.